So you're working with a buyer and they're ready to buy their dream condo, whether it's retirement or for vacation, and you thought they were a cash buyer, and suddenly, well, they're going to finance. Are you concerned about that? Have you done much with that? Would you like a little more information? How about just the basics? This is Ron Wojciechowski for Real Estate in a Nutshell, and we're going to just scratch the surface of condo financing right now. I had spent quite a few years in the lending business before I ever got into real estate. And it was always surprising to me how many people shied away from condos. They felt they were complicated, they were hard to schedule appointments, there was hard to financing, blah, 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 blah. Guys, it's a great business. And while many of them are cash, there's room for financing, and it's not as hard as it's made out to be. And as a matter of fact, the application for the buyer is the exact same application they would do for any conventional FHA or VA loan. It's the same information. What's the difference? You're going to need a couple of extra forms. You're going to need perhaps a limited review for the condo, and that's something the lender will get together with the condo association to fill out this form. It's going to talk about the occupancy levels. If it's more than 50% owner occupied, then you'll be fine. It'll be a warrantable condo. If it's less than 50%, that's going to be a special exception or a no-go. Less than 50% owner occupancy means it's non-warrantable. And it's particularly concerning to the lender because they want to see owner occupied and not rentals. So when it's non-warrantable, most of the banks that you work with are not going to do that one. You'll need to look for something a little more specialized in that, or a portfolio loan for non-warrantable. If they have commercial space in there, that would also make it possibly non-warrantable. Restaurants, gift shops. So if it looks like a resort, you may not get financing. If it's full of rentals, if you see daily rentals or 3-day rental, for minimums, that could be a clue that you could be in trouble. Weekly, you might be okay as long as there's not more than 10% commercial space. Did I just glaze your eyes over? Well, here's what I would focus on. If we can see that it's mostly residential, and we know from the listing agent that that concentration is fine, or maybe that listing agent has sold other properties in the building, and they might say, look, we financed with a number of people, so we're going to be okay on financing. Well, that will relieve a lot of the condo financing stress. What else should we be looking for? Well, I definitely think that we need to, get the condo docs out there to make sure there's nothing in there about the restrictions. If there's a right of first refusal in there, you want to examine how long that first refusal period is. Maybe it's 15 days. You may end up holding off on the appraisal till that period is done, and the reason being is, why would you do an appraisal if somebody's going to take that property from underneath you? So examine that piece. The rest of the financing, it's really just a lender working with the association. So if the listing agent has the condo docs prepared and there's a limited review and the information for who to contact at the condo board, you're probably going to be okay. If it's a battle to even get the name of who's in charge of the homeowners association to get that information out, I would plan extra due diligence time, whether it's through inspections or for the financing contingency, maybe bump it from 30 days to 35 or 40 and make sure the closing date maybe is 45 days. These are some of the things that I would want you to take a look at. The limited review looks at just a few basic items, and it's going to make sure, like I said, it's a warrantable condo. There's no did I mention lawsuits against the association? That could be a problem. So if there's infighting in the HOA or lawsuits, that could easily disqualify a loan from going through. I've seen everything from the walls between two condos being fought over who's going to pay for repairs to evictions that have occurred in the association. Maybe they're deficient in their books with regard to repairs. The budget looks really bad because they have no reserves in there and big repairs coming up. These are all things that could scuttle financing. But if I was to peel back the layers of the onion, aren't those the very same things that we should be examining when we read the seller's disclosures and we take a look at the minutes and the guidelines and the budget? If we're doing that due diligence for the purchase and it looks okay to us, then chances are it's going to be okay for the financing part of it. If we're not reviewing those items, well, then you could absolutely be heading for, a face plant on that one. So if the documents are available, review them. If they're not, request them. If a listing agent doesn't have them, keep this in mind. If they plan on selling the property, they're going to need them because their 3-day docs are due within a few days. So get those docs. Sometimes they're available. Sometimes they need a few more days to get that. Just build it into your due diligence time. But before you're running out there to do expensive inspections or expensive appraisals, let's review the 3-day docs. Let's make sure there's nothing in the guidelines that's going to scuttle the deal. And maybe your lender's worked in that building before. It's not as hard as it seems to get condo financing. And it's a big piece of business you're leaving on the table if you never want to play that game. If you have questions about condo financing, there's plenty of expert lenders out there. I can give you the cliff notes, that's for sure. Click or comment below if you have questions about condo financing or really just curious about how it all works. Love to help you out with that. And don't forget to subscribe. This is Ron Wysokarski for Real Estate in a Nutshell.